Guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing a travel tips vlog questionnaire kind of thing. So this vlog comes highly requested from my coworkers and my friends and just people in general who are always asking me how I travel by myself, where I go, how I pick my locations, how I always end up having such a good time. And I used to think that this was like just a thing. It was just like, how do you not have a good time? But then I found out that's not necessarily the case with everyone, and not everyone is very prepared. And so, especially from like my coworkers, they requested this just because one of my other coworkers is not so good at traveling, and they were like, no, we need the Katherine experience. Like, we don't need to do the whole homeless, sad, broke kind of thing. We need to do the like make friends, like Instagram vlogging, like having the time of your life kind of vibe. So I was like, okay, like I'll help you guys, and I'll make a vlog with a bunch of tips for everyone else too as well. So let's get into it. Okay, first things first, before we even talk about traveling, I get a lot of questions about travel credit cards, how I pick the right travel credit cards, because eventually when you travel enough, you rack up enough points that you could probably pay off a flight, you could upgrade yourself to like a business class flight or something. So why not? You're spending money and you're spending money anyway, so you might as well get rewarded for it in some sense. So I have two credit cards. The first one I have is a zero foreign transaction fee card, and that is a Scotiabank Visa Infinite card. So I also get 6 lounge visits per year with that card, which is nice because sometimes if I'm there at the airport really early, then I can just like sit at the lounge and like chill out and not have to kind of like wait in the general waiting area. And then there's like usually always like complimentary food and like a shower available if possible. So it's really great for like long haul flights or flights where I have to lay over for quite a while. This card is just good because it has the zero foreign transaction fee, meaning that if I go to Europe and I spend €7 per se, it'll just give me the conversion of the day and it won't charge me extra, because usually with the cards that don't have the zero foreign transaction fee, the bank adds 2.5% on top of the conversion. So I don't know, this could be so wrong, but I'm pretty sure like €1 is maybe like $1.50 Canadian, probably even more at this point in time. But if I were to pay, I don't know, on my card in Europe somewhere, like €1 for something, I would get charged 150 plus 2.5% of 150 on top of that. And so you can see how it eventually like racks up. And so that's why I have that card. So I usually take it with me just for travel purposes. I don't usually use it on my day-to-day just because I don't really collect scene points, and scene points really, they don't convert to anything, and I don't like that. So you can only use scene points for free movies, and I'm just like, okay, I'd rather collect points and have them convert to like my Aeroplan points, which is like the main platform which I collect my points on, and then I can use it to do a business class flight for like, I don't know, going to Singapore if I'm going to spend 17 hours on a plane again, you know, something like that. If you want a zero foreign transaction fee credit card in Canada that does not have a yearly fee, because the Visa Scotiabank Passport one does come with a yearly fee of about like $130. There is the Brim Mastercard, I think. So that one is zero transaction fee, like for foreign purchases or whatever, but there's no additional perks to it. There's no yearly fee on the credit card. So for something simple that you just want to like take with you abroad, where you know you're going to be spending a lot of money and you don't want to pay an extra 2.5% on top of everything you spent already, that would be a good card to get. Okay, now transitioning into my second card. So I have the Amex Cobalt card, and so this one collects points that are transferable into my Aeroplan points. And what you'll find as well is with a lot of airline alliances, like for example Lufthansa and Air Canada, I believe they're all part of like Star Alliance. So like if I booked my flight to Europe on Lufthansa, I had like maybe, I don't know, 500 to 1,000 points on the Lufthansa website. I can actually email them and get those points transferred to my Aeroplan points, so like they will do the conversion for me. So there's a lot of options for that now. And then when I booked my flight to Singapore through United Airlines, it actually just asked me to put in my Aeroplan membership. So once I got onto the flight, once I actually checked in for the flight, my points directly transferred into my Aeroplan account. So super easy like that. And so I like my Amex Cobalt card because the Amex points are transferable into Aeroplan points. And pretty much all I ever do is like go out to eat or whatever. So Amex gives you 5 times the points on food. I believe 3 times the points on like subscriptions like Apple Music and stuff like that. There's like 2 times the points on travel stuff. I haven't really looked too much into it because I don't use that card when I'm outside, because I'll get charged the additional fee. And then just regular, like a point for every dollar spent for all other purchases. And so I don't know, I probably spent a lot this year. I put a lot on that Amex card, so I probably have enough to kind of like get myself a business class flight somewhere or like cover a flight somewhere next year. So that is a really good card just in terms of maximizing how many points you get per spend. And also if you eat a lot, it's a really good one just because, you know, 5 times the points on food and all I do is eat food or like go out for food with my friends. Okay, so now actually getting into the travel part. So people always ask me like, how do your trips kind of go so well? How do you always have fun? Don't really end up in situations where you're just like sad, because apparently that's possible. Or like you like book a hotel and you're like, oh shit, I didn't realize that it was like this. And then like the wall is like on the ground, or I don't even know. Or there's like a hole in the mattress or something like that. So for me, whenever I travel, my top priorities are always safety and comfort. And I don't know, I feel like this might just be common sense, or it's just like me. I've traveled a lot by myself. I've just like traveled quite a bit in general. But safety, your number one thing, because you know, if you're not safe, then you're not going to have a good time. And if you don't feel safe, you're not going to have a good time either, because you're always going to be on edge or on the lookout for something like that. And comfort, because it contributes to your safety, but it also contributes to like your overall like mood and happiness. Like something I always do is like when I book a hotel, first of all, I mean, always like read the reviews and read them extensively. Don't just like look at 2 or 3 reviews. Like go on different websites, get people's insights, like join a Facebook group or whatever. But like for me, like stay is always the number one like top priority. I'll spend more on that. And it's because like at the end of the day, after you've traveled and you've like been out, all you want to do is sit in a comfortable bed at at your temporary home. So that's why like comfort is number one to me, because if you don't feel comfortable and you don't feel safe, you're not going to be in a good mood in general. And so on the safety end of things, tips wise, my mom always makes me do this, but I always send a copy of my itinerary, so my flights and where I'm staying and the dates of those things, because like that's usually where you're gonna find me. If I were like to go MIA for a second, you would assume that like you could look for me there. And so I always send an itinerary of that along with a picture of my passport to someone at home, not to your travel partner, your travel buddy, or the people you're traveling with. And yeah, you know what, it's great if you have a like copy of it on your phone too, but like you could lose your phone just as easily. Someone could steal your phone, you could break your phone or whatever. So always send a copy to someone back home where they have access to unlimited like internet, unlimited resources, whatever, because it's home, right? So number one thing to do, just in case your password gets stolen, just in case something happens, people can't find you, they at least know kind of sort of where to look. Safety tip number 2, buy an eSIM or get a SIM card with basically as much internet that exists, because for me, when I travel, I always leave my data on. This way, like my parents can see where I am, they have me on Find My Friends, and if I need to use the internet, then I can use the internet without having to worry about finding Wi-Fi or finding a good connection. I can just use data. And so for people who have the iPhone, I believe XR or newer, your phones are actually eSIM compatible, which means you don't even have to switch out the SIM card anymore. You can just download an app, like I use Airalo, and basically buy what they call like an eSIM. And so the good thing about Airalo is you can do it by country or you can do it by region. So for example, like going to Europe, I bought a European like regional SIM card because I was going to Italy and Malta, and there would be no point for me to buy an Italy SIM card and then use it, then go to Malta, use my Malta SIM card, then go back to Italy and like reactivate my Italy SIM card. So it doesn't make any sense. So that's what I like about Airalo, is they have regional SIM cards available on top of just individual country eSIMs available. All you do is purchase it. Once you land in your country, respective country of travel, you scan the QR code that's already been provided in the app, and then the eSIM will automatically set itself up and you're good, you have data. Why I recommend getting a lot of data is just for, again, a safety purpose. You don't want to, like, of course you can reload, you can top up, but I don't ever want to like stress out about that. And it's just like one of those like really minute things that I'm just like, okay, might as well just pay like $5 more to have extra data, more than I need, and then not have to worry about running out of data. And then like, how am I going to purchase more data if I don't have data or don't have access to the internet? And that way you can just keep your phone connected to the internet at all times. You can communicate with people as you need, and you don't need to like worry about like turning your data on and off just to like conserve it, you know? So I pretty much like covered those two like major safety tips. On the comfort end, like I just said, book a hotel and don't worry if you need to spend a little bit more. Like, no, you don't need to book like a 5-star hotel with like royal spa treatment or whatever, unless you're going to like an all-inclusive in Mexico and all you're going to be doing is staying in the resort. But still, it is important to book a place where you feel comfortable. So my reasoning for this, I guess you could say, is like, usually when you travel, like you're out and about all day and that's totally fine. But at the end of the day, you still come home to your hotel room and that's where you sleep. That's kind of where you unwind, you know, and kind of relax for the day after a really busy day of travel. So for me, it's really important to find a place that is comfortable, clean, and nice. Doesn't have to be like, you know, 5-star treatment, like I said, but just like nice, you know, no bed bugs, no broken mattresses, anything like that. So for those of you who are kind of like trying to find accommodation and debating, I would say don't be afraid to splurge a little bit more because you won't regret it. You'll be a lot happier at the end of the day and you'll be a lot more comfortable and just like wanting to go out and do things throughout your trip, as opposed to if you were to stay at a place where it was like dirty and gross, you'd probably just be like really stressed out and really miserable all the time, and it wouldn't really be like a fun trip at all because you'd just be like upset the entire time. Okay, so aside from the whole safety and comfort thing, I do have like some like additional tips. So I guess like these are the things that I always do before I go places, just like common sense things, I guess. One thing I actually really like to do that I found that I like to do is join Facebook groups. So I just like, if I'm going to Sorrento, I'll go on Facebook and I'll search Sorrento and I'll filter under groups. And that way I can, like, I join a group where people, all they talk about is like the place where I'm going or the city where I'm going specifically. And people, you know, ask questions about like hotels, where to eat, this and that. So it kind of gives me an idea of what I want to do or the places I would like to go or places I would like to eat and places I would definitely avoid. So that's usually how I do it. And then aside from that, in terms of like joining a Facebook group for research purposes, I will also, the two most important things that I research are transportation and weather. So transportation is very important because depending on where you're going, it could be a place where there's, you know, tons of transport available, for example, like Singapore or Japan, or a place where like you can't actually really get anywhere without a taxi or getting a driver. For example, like if I'm coming from Naples and going to Sorrento, really like cabs, private drivers are the only option because they don't really have that much transit minus like a train. And so once again, it's up to you. Do you want to splurge or do you not want to splurge? But I would always research so I know how I'm gonna get where I need to go, because if I can't even get there, then the vacation hasn't even started and the vacation is not going to start. So transport is a big thing, to know if there's public transit available, if you need to do taxis, if you need to walk. And then this is also where the whole weather comes in. I like to research the weather to know what I need to bring and how I need to dress and just like be prepared for that overall. And I would also, so like you can't just research and be like, and then it'll be like, oh, it's the rainy season, because in each different climate around the world, rain is defined by like, it's something different, right? So like here in Vancouver, it could literally rain from like 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. or it could just rain for like 4 or 5 days in a row, non-stop. That's what we define as the rainy season. But if you go somewhere tropical, for example, like Singapore or Mexico, that's not really the rainy season for them. Like they don't experience rain like that. For them, they have like periods of extreme and like pretty heavy showers that last maybe like 5 to 10 minutes. So it's important to like also define the differences between like different weathers and different climates, because you'll find that like rain, sun, this and that is like very different for everyone. Also, to add to the whole weather thing, if you're not prepared and dressed for the right climate, you're not actually going to be able to do things in general. And like, once again, who wants to spend money on a brand new wardrobe when you don't really need to, and it was just like your own stupidity that brought you here? I don't mean to like call anyone out or anything like that, but it's just like, do your research ahead of time so you don't have to be stuck in this like miserable cycle, I guess, where you're kind of like mad at yourself for not doing it, but there's like nothing you can do about it, you know? Because I hate being in those situations, so I avidly try to avoid them as much as possible. Okay, so pretty much talked about like the whole safety and comfort thing, and then like my big research points, you know, joining a Facebook group, looking at the climates and like transportation. I'm also going to add in a little bit of like just like random things that I always pack because they're useful. So, you know, nail clippers, cotton balls, Q-tips, always necessary. You don't ever know when you're gonna need them. Sometimes you don't even have scissors on hand. And sometimes I buy like a piece of clothing and I'm like, oh, I kind of just like want to wear this right now. So I honestly just take the nail clippers and cut the tag because I don't pack scissors with me on a trip. So those things in general. Something else I always bring are laundry bags, so like to put like my dirty laundry in, not necessarily like my big chunky clothes, but like socks and like smaller items, so I can just like put them in a bag together, and then when I come back I just like dump it all together, wash the bag, and wash like all my dirty laundry inside as well. The next most important thing I would say that you need to bring are comfortable shoes. So I have heard someone, you guys know who, a certain someone went on vacation and decided that they didn't want to bring comfortable shoes with them, they wanted to look cool or whatever. And well, it turned out disastrous because a certain someone had to bring comfortable shoes for them to wear. And so this is exactly my point. You don't want to be miserable throughout your trip and you're going to be up on your feet all day. And so who cares if you look cute or not? Being comfortable is more important. If your shoes, like for me, my Nikes, my Air Forces are like my comfy shoes, so I bring them, I can walk around, but like for other people that might not be their comfy shoes. So just like bring whatever you think is comfortable because you'll be so much happier while you're going around and actually supposed to be having fun if your feet aren't hurting or blistered or like bloody or something like that. So always bring like slippers or something for your hotel room. Mine is if you're going to Asia, because in Asia slippers are provided for you in your hotel room, but if you're going to places like Europe or whatever, I don't know, it's just me. I have this thing where like I don't want to like drag around all the mud that I walk through all day, so I just have like slippers, slides, like flip-flops or something where I usually just like wear them inside the hotel room. It doesn't have to be clean because obviously the floor is like still dirty, but I would just like prefer to not wear my outside shoes like inside my hotel room, even though it's probably still equally as dirty. It's just like a me thing. Guys, I almost forgot, on the safety end of things, make sure you always have travel insurance. Don't be that person who's like, oh, it's gonna be fine, nothing's gonna happen to me. You don't know that. You can't predict the future and you can't know for sure. And so just buy the travel insurance, because I've heard tons of stories of people breaking their ankles or like breaking their arms on like the most random vacations, like going to Mexico or like just like going somewhere random in Europe. You could fall, you could trip over rocks or something, you could, I don't know, do something stupid and something would happen to you. So it's very important to have your travel insurance so that you're covered and you can get all the medical attention you need without breaking the bank. And then also to check for health advisories. So this is not really a thing that applies to, I would say, like most countries that people would want to travel to, but for those people who like would like to travel somewhere more like remote, it's probably really important to check to see like what's going around. Like in the tropical areas of the world, there's like diseases that mosquitoes carry or like that other bugs carry, so it's important to check for that and be up to date on any vaccinations necessary. One of my friends like went to Mexico and she was actually recommended to get vaccinated against hepatitis A. I can't remember how that's carried through. I think like raw food or stuff like that. So, and like water, so just like as a precaution. But it's important to check to see if there are potentially any requirements for certain vaccinations that you need while entering the country, or any restrictions of, when entering that country, because some countries will not allow certain people who have visited other countries for up to like, I don't know, 30, 60, 90 days to enter their country for like health reasons. I remember going to Singapore, I read something about people from certain like South American countries needed to actually like announce that they were from there because there are like communicable diseases in those countries that like I guess Singapore was trying to avoid spreading and stuff like that. So very important to keep on top of that. One of my coworkers asked me to kind of do like travel tips for specific regions, so I'll just do that quickly before I get into those like some of the like Instagram questions that you guys asked me on my poll. So I'm just gonna do it by like US, Asia, and Europe, break it down really easily. So US, my number one recommendation would be to stay close to where you want to explore. For example, places like LA, there's like virtually no transit, so you'd have to like Uber back and forth. So there's no point in staying at a hotel that's like further away for the sake of saving money, because you're going to be spending that money on Uber rides, which would probably actually turn out to be more expensive as opposed to you staying at a hotel closer to where you want to be that's a little bit more expensive but within walking distance or shorter driving distance of everywhere you want to go. You know, like don't stay in Santa Monica if all you want to do is be around the Hollywood area, because then you would have to spend like, I'm pretty sure it's like a 30-minute drive to like an hour round trip, and you would have to get an Uber unless you rent a car. But then like I honestly would not recommend renting a car unless you're like going like further away, unless you're heading to like either Malibu, you're going to Anaheim for Disney, or you're going down to like Huntington, because those places are a little bit further away. But within like Santa Monica to the Hollywood area, you know, so just like pick your accommodations wisely. Same thing like big cities like New York and stuff like that. Transit is like it's better, but like I had a friend who stayed in Queens and then realized it would be like a 1 hour commute via subway to get to the city, and all they wanted to do was be in the city and like explore, of course, like New York City. So she regrets like staying in Queens because she was like, it was like hot, there was no AC, and it was just like such a long commute, and like time is money in this sense and you're only there for so long. So she was like, I regretted not splurging more and just staying at a hotel in New York. So that's like my main travel tip for the US, is just like be aware of where you are and like how the transportation is, because quite frankly transportation in North America sucks. It's not comparable to Asia. And so travel tips for Asia, I guess it really depends on where you go, but like my number one thing is like the weather once again, because there it ranges from like weather like here all the way to like tropical climates. So it really depends on where you're looking for. There's that, and especially in Asia, comfortable footwear is like number one, because you're gonna be doing a lot of walking, a lot of standing, and going around the areas. Like Asia's more packed, it's more of a busy area, and it's all kind of like squished together. There's not as much space as there is in like Canada per se. So lots of transit, lots of options, but there's still like tons of walking, and usually for the most part, commuting via like driving or even like motorcycle or scooters is actually going to take you longer to get you where you need to be. And so that's why walking, comfortable footwear is very, very important. Okay, and then traveling to Europe, so once again, comfortable footwear, because like I said, everywhere in Europe is old, and that's never going to change. And I don't think they're ever going to put in like more transit or stuff like that, because it's just like so old. It's so hard to change, and everything's just like concrete and stone. So it's not like it is here. Like it's just like rocks everywhere, and everywhere is like a historic site, or like I don't know. So it's just like it's never gonna change. Don't anticipate it to change. Lots of walking, lots of hills in Europe, lots of uneven, unsteady ground, most likely like cobblestone sidewalks. So just be very mindful of that. Another thing to watch out for in Europe are pickpockets. So it's a really big thing there, especially in like bigger places like Paris. Like even if you go to the Louvre or the Eiffel Tower, there'll actually be signs posted that are like, be careful of pickpockets, because they just like, they look exactly like you and you wouldn't actually be able to tell. And well, yeah, that's their job, right? They essentially steal things from people, so they have to blend in with the crowd. So with that comes, I guess, like my personal travel tip is that I always bring a bag where it's small, it can fit everything I need, but there's also only like one flap. So I don't know, I guess some people are like, oh, if you bring a bag that has like multiple zippers, it's like easy to like hide things or whatever. But then my thing is like, can you remember where you put all your things within those multiple zippers and pockets? Because the second that you sit down and you start to look like lost and you start to look like a tourist fumbling through their bag, somebody is going to look at you and be like, that's my next target. So you always want to do whatever you can to avoid looking like an easy target. And for me, that's just like having like a one flat bag and pulling out like my disposable, closing the bag, taking a picture, putting it back in. I basically want to avoid as much time as I can like fumbling through my bag or having my bag open, because that's like more opportunity I give to pickpockets to steal my stuff. So that's just like my take on travel bags, although everyone has their own thing, but I would much rather just kind of prefer to have everything in one pocket. So it's just like super easy, and I don't have to spend that much time looking through my bag, and then I don't look lost to everyone else. Because also when you're fumbling through your bag, you're not focusing on other things. So all your attention goes to you, of course, like trying to find what you need to find in your bag, but that also makes you a very easy target, because anything can distract you, or anything else like can catch you off guard, and that's not necessarily a good thing. And I know it's like I'm kind of scaring you guys with this whole like pickpocket in Europe situation, but I'm just giving you guys like worst case scenario, because the last thing that you want to happen to you is have your passport stolen and then be stuck in the place that you're supposed to be on vacation. it's just not a fun time. And like I remember one of my clients once told me that one of her friends and her boyfriend, like they went to Mexico, their bus got robbed, and she was able to like hide her passport somewhere, but her boyfriend was not. So guess what? She went home, and her boyfriend unfortunately was stuck in Mexico for another 3 months because he needed to sort out his passport issues. So you just don't want that to happen to you. Okay, and now for the last part of my vlog, which is basically just like the questions that you guys asked for me. So, okay, first question, how does it feel to travel alone? I love it. I don't have to do anything on anyone else's time except for mine. I can do whatever I want. I can go home, take a break if I want to. I can, yeah, do whatever. I know that sometimes it sounds scary, but honestly, it's like the best time ever. And I make friends. It's pretty easy to like make friends here and there. So you just like, I don't know, you just kind of like make friends along the way. And I guess like Instagram helps because sometimes I'll reach out to like content creators and meet up with them too. So I know I'm like never really like alone in a sense, even though I do most of my like a huge, like I would say like at least 90% of the trips that I go on like actually like by myself. It's still nice to know that like there are people around, and it's also like it's not hard to meet people, and you don't have to be young to do it too. Like there are a lot of like older people who travel alone too. So if you're afraid, you know, you can like also go on Facebook groups, look for other solo travelers and see if anyone's around, and you know, like meet up with them for like coffee, meet up with them for dinner, so that way you have something to do with someone for a little bit, and then you can also kind of like ease into solo travel yourself as well. Okay, next question. Do you feel safe when traveling alone? Absolutely. I'm also like I'm a very like well-seasoned traveler, so I'm not gonna pick a place where I know it's not safe to travel. And I hate that I have to do this, but I still have to be very aware of the fact that, you know, like I'm still a female. Like there are certain places in this world where we are quite frankly like we come like second class almost, like we're not as respected or like we're not treated as equals. And so I just don't go to those places. I mean, I would love to. There are certain places in the world that I would actually love to go to that people are like, you have to be careful or you shouldn't go there by yourself. But I just like don't pick those places to go, and I pick like safe places to go, and then I leave that for like, I don't know, whenever someone decides like, hey, like you want to go with me here or there, I'm just like, okay, cool, why not? Okay, how do you pack everything that I need? Okay, my sister actually got a gift from my other sister with like these like, it's like these like travel checkoff lists. It's like just like a big like binder with the same thing over and over again, or like those like little rippy sheets or whatever. But sometimes I'll just like go into her drawer and like take a picture of it and look at it and be like, oh shoot, like I forgot this, this, and this. So it's actually a really good list. It's an extensive list. You don't need everything because it kind of covers like everything for all climates. So like I kind of just like go through that checklist. If I feel like I'm missing something, like I'm just like, wait, I think I need something else, then I'll like refer back to her sheet. I will like put a link and like put a screenshot of the sheets here if I haven't already, but they are actually very useful, especially if it's like your first time traveling, be it alone with your family or you're just like, yeah, new to travel in general. Best time to book flights and hotels? I honestly don't know. I think so. Last year I needed to buy a flight to LA, but like it was like too, I was like trying to track the price to get the lowest price, and I think like Tuesdays, honestly, go to TikTok, someone talks about it, but I don't think the weekends are a good time. Also, if you want to track the price of flights, you can just go into like Google Flights and then like put in your dates and everything, and then like select the like track flight, and it'll notify you of a price increase or decrease. So that's what I do too when I'm like trying to save like, I don't know, 50-60 bucks, or like maybe even upwards of $100, just because I booked it like too last minute. Okay, hotels wise, people always like don't book through third party, but I always like book through booking.com. I personally have not found an issue with it. I also like, I wouldn't book on like a sketchy website. Like booking.com is a really big, like relatively, I would say like reputable website, because you can't get that big unless you're reputable. So sometimes like I will book through those third parties because I'm just like, well, yeah, like they can't just like mess up everyone's reservations, or else no one would be using this platform in the first place. But sometimes what I do is I actually like, I go on Booking and I look for like the hotels or whatever, and if you really don't trust the third party, at least there's something that has like, that's a website where you can see all the hotels, and so you have all your options, and then once you pick your option, just go onto the hotel website and book it. That would be like my best recommendation. If you're trying to find a hotel but you don't really want to book directly through Booking, just use it to browse and find what you want and then go and book it on the actual hotel website. How can you not travel with an itinerary? So a lot of people don't like this about me, or they just like freak out at the fact that I can do it, but I don't travel with an itinerary. I don't have plans. I have a list, or like a mental list of things I would potentially like to do. Like once again in my Facebook groups, I will kind of like save recommendations or like places to visit, specific areas to see, but I don't have a set itinerary because I feel like once you do that, it's just like then you have to do everything all at once. And what if like the weather's nicer one day and you want to change your plans? Like for example, in Italy, the weather said it was going like to rain for basically every day I was there except for one of them, and so I was like, okay, I want to go to Capri that day, but I can like change my plans that easily versus like in my opinion I feel like an itinerary would be like, oh then I have to switch this around, I have to switch that around. Like if I want to do like my cooking classes or whatever, like I book those in advance, I block it off, I know that's that, but then I also like leave lots of room for myself to do whatever I want because I feel like, you know, plans always change. What if you find something else you really want to do, and so just go ahead and do it. So yeah, basically like to sum it up, I don't like to make an itinerary because I feel like it just like almost like sets in stone everything I need to do. I feel like it makes me feel inflexible. Like what if I want to change my plans and it's just like, oh my god, then I have to like rearrange everything. And I kind of just like to like live life sporadically. I actually find it a lot of fun because then I'm just like, oh, like I get distracted by here. I'm like, oh, I want to go here or whatever. So I don't have to do everything like by the minute or by the hour because then I feel like this is so like you're not having fun. I mean, at least for me, right? Because I know some people like they like to plan so that they don't actually feel anxious. But for me, I'm like the opposite. Planning makes me, I feel like very anxious because what if something happens, you have to change your plan. So like I think like that, and I just like to like take it day by day and figure it out. And also I guess it's because like I make friends along the way, I meet people and they have like suggestions of where to go, like what they want to do, so I'm like, oh cool, like I want to go do that too. So that's kind of like the nice thing about not having an itinerary, and I kind of like it. I would recommend that everyone tries it once in a while because like I've like done vacations where like there's itineraries and stuff, not that I mind them, but like I just like prefer this way for me. So everyone out there, give it a try. You never know. Okay, pretty much like all your guys' questions were like, how do you feel like traveling alone? How do you do it? You just gotta do it. You just gotta do it, honestly. It's not as scary as it seems. I'm used to, like, for those of you who don't know, I moved out when I was in university and like I lived pretty much like on my own. So like I'm really used to like having time to myself, having a lot of time to myself. So it's not like a big deal. So I would just like, it's really not as scary as you would think it is. So yeah. Last question is from one of my coworkers. How many bags to bring home? Empty souvenirs. LOL. Honestly, this actually might be a valid question for some people, so I'm just gonna like answer it because I know he probably said that as a joke. But depends. You know, like Asia, you get 2 free carry-ons, so like why not? Because I regret only bringing 2 free check bags. So like I regret bringing only 1 check bag because I was like, I want to buy literally everything here. And in Japan, when I left the airport, like when they weighed my luggage, it wasn't that like out of your 2 luggages you have a combined like 50 kilograms, right? So it wasn't like that one luggage had to be 25 and the other had to be 25 as well. They like did a total. So like bag 1 out of 2, my bag was like kind of almost overweight, weighed like, I don't know, like 24.5 kilos out of the allotted 50 that you get. So I like it that because then like I could have actually like stuffed my luggage and made it like really full, and it would have been like technically overweight, but in their eyes not, because like it hasn't gone over my total allotment. So I thought that was nice. But I guess it kind of depends if you like to bring home things or if you feel the need to bring home things. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, like if you're gonna buy small trinkets, then you don't really need to bring lots of bags. But if you're going somewhere where you're like, oh shoot, like I want to buy like maybe alcohol or stuff like that, then like just like plan accordingly, you know, like plan out what you want to buy, do your research too before you go. But yeah, so that's pretty much it for this like travel tips vlog. If you guys have any specific questions about anything, you can feel free to leave them in the comments below. But to summarize everything, you know, just make sure that you're safe, make sure you're comfortable, make sure you do your research ahead of time, and you won't have like a miserable time. You won't be, once again, sad, broke, on the verge of starvation, on the verge of being homeless, all that kind of stuff. And then you can have the Katherine travel experience. Like all it is really just like doing your due diligence and planning a little bit ahead so you don't have to worry while you're there. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this vlog. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, leave any comments or questions below. Yeah, that's it. See you guys next time.